What up, fellow Colts fans? Welcome back to the official, one and only bullshit-free Colts podcast, where you know how we get down here. You get to hear all things Colts, and you get to hear it straight, no chaser, no coach speak, no spin, and most importantly, no fucking bullshit. Now, let's talk about the game that we just watched where the Colts went down to Chicago and literally dominated the Chicago Bears. It wasn't a pretty game. A lot of people say, "Oh, it was ugly win." I mean, to me, it wasn't a pretty game offensively, but it wasn't an ugly win because the fucking defense just absolutely dominated Chicago. So much so that, look, after 4 weeks, with the Colts still the number one defense, well, technically the number two defense, but really they're number one. I'll tell you why in a second. But, I mean, at this point, we got to ask the question today, is this Colts defense elite? Or is it smoke and mirrors? Now, like I said, I enjoyed the fuck out of watching yesterday. I had to hear all week about Nick Foles, who was, going to be some kind of hero, some kind of miracle worker, was supposed to be exploding. I'm like, give me a fucking break. Now, at this point, Nick Foles, I'm sure, is a nice guy, but he is just he's just a fucking weird specimen because he's a guy, he's like a reliever. He's like a top reliever in baseball. I mean, he's a guy, if he comes in off the bench into a game or what have you, or he's off the bench because somebody got hurt, he just fucking lights it up. It's like he's magical. But every fucking time throughout his career, 9 years, every time some team has made him the starter based on play that he's had, as the backup, every time he's the starter, he's trash. Now, I don't know why. I mean, I don't really care enough to go into, breaking down exactly why, but that's what we see. That's what we've seen throughout his whole career. And frankly, I mean, that's what we saw yesterday. Now, maybe, they needed more practice, he and the receivers and what have you, but he didn't look that great. But I will say this, I mean, from watching the game, what was clear is the Colts defense just fucking was all over him all day. Quarterback hits, an interception. I mean, it was a beautiful thing to watch if you like defense. So before we get into that question, of course, let's go into the segment we do every week, the good, the bad, the ugly. Yesterday, obviously, what was good is that the defense is clearly, in my opinion, for real. They held Chicago to really 3 points through 58 minutes of the game. And then, Chicago got a touchdown in garbage time when the Colts had backed off into their kind of prevent defense, basically because at that point the score was 19-3, and the Colts it was only 2 minutes left. The Colts basically knew, hey, as long as they use up some time, when we get the ball back, the game is over. So, I mean, the last touchdown was a fantastic catch by Allen Robinson and a good throw by, what's his name? Nicky Foles. But again, it was in garbage time. The Colts were kind of backed off. But, I mean, other than that, the Colts held this team to one field goal through 58 minutes. They were all over him. So that was great to watch. Rivers, now, I heard a lot of people talking about Rivers wasn't that good yesterday. I mean, actually, he wasn't bad. He wasn't great, but he wasn't really bad. The thing I liked about him is that for the third straight week, he's still being very careful with the ball, not turning it over. He almost had an interception that was called back, but it wasn't his fault because Mo Alley Cox really should have either caught that ball or been able to knock it down. Really, Mo Alley Cox could have caught the ball, but it bounced off Mo Alley Cox's hand and up in the air, and a Chicago Bear caught it, but his foot was out of bounds when he caught it. So that wasn't Phillips' fault. Phillips, I thought was fine yesterday, but like I said, what I was really happy to see is that he wasn't turning the ball over, and he hasn't been reckless with the ball over the last 3 weeks. You might remember, if you don't remember, go back and watch the podcast from the first week after they played the Jaguars, and I was really concerned that, Phillip Rivers might just be a motherfucker that can't rein in his desire to just push it, really be risky when the game is on the line, or, just throwing the ball up when he thinks a guy might be open, trying to make something happen. But over the last 3 weeks, he's been great. So I'm glad to see that. Also, man, Zach Pascal continues to find a way to be productive, timely, and reliable. Zach is one of those players that, everybody keeps telling you, he's not super talented, because he's not super fast. I mean, there's nothing about him that is incredibly extraordinary, but he does everything well. And he has a knack for getting open, and he catches the fucking ball, especially at big times, in crunch time. So that was great to see. And of course, like I said, beating a team on the road for the first time in whoever the fuck knows how long, especially going back through last season, beating a decent team on the road was a great thing to see. Now, a couple of bad things. The very first thing that jumps out when we start talking about the bad, man, the running game is officially a fucking concern at this point. Would you not agree? I mean, they're sitting at 3.3 yards per rush right now, and I mean, the O-line is just not fucking getting it done. They're not getting it done. Now, Chicago has an incredible run defense. I will give them that. And I'm sure that Chuck Pagano, Chicago's defensive coordinator, I'm sure he's smart enough to know that, number one, we're going to shut down the run because they're missing their weapons on at the wide receiver position. Let's shut down the run first and foremost, and then make them try to beat us with their banged up ass wide receiver group and Phillip Rivers. So they were definitely, like, they were stacking the box, like they were selling out to stop the run. But still, it just hasn't been good. I mean, we've seen 3-4 weeks now where the offensive line is just not fucking opening up holes in the running game. Now, on top of that, Jonathan Taylor, who definitely looks like a star, speed, quickness, power, has particularly great instincts in the open field, but he's got to increase his vision. He's got to improve his vision quite a bit. If you compare his vision to Marlon Mack's, I mean, it's not even close. And I mean, this might sound like a hot take. It might be unpopular. People might disagree with it. But I'll tell you, if I'm the Colts, if it doesn't cost me too much fucking money next year, I would bring Marlon Mack back. I still think his ability, his vision in particular, is outstanding. And having he and Taylor, as a running back by committee, I think would be fantastic. Now, Taylor is a rookie. We'll see how things go the rest of this year. But, man, Marlon Mack's speed and vision, getting through the hole and everything is outstanding. And so the running game just in general, I'll tell you another thing about the running game. I'm not a big fan of Reich's play calling in the running game as well. I mean, a lot of times I'm thinking to myself, dude, spread them out. Spread them out and run, especially if you're going to run with Nyheim Hines. Spread them out and then run. It just, you're running with Nyheim Hines trying to run up the middle. It's just, I don't see it. It just, the running game in terms of the plays called and what have you, it just doesn't seem to be real inventive. Again, I'm not saying I'm a better fucking play caller or better at recognizing plays than Frank Reich and what have you. But again, when you're able to sit and look at it, especially from a bird's eye view when you're watching the game, it just doesn't look like there's a lot of great plays being called in the running game. But again, man, I mean, that might be part of it. The big thing is that the fucking line is not getting it done in the running game. And there is no doubt about that. The third thing that has to go in the bad category, matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the ugly category for this week. It's hard, as much as it pains me to say this, it's looking like T.Y. Hilton, one of my favorite Colts players ever. It's looking like he's officially in decline now. He just doesn't seem to be able to really break open. Now, I have to go back and watch the film and see if they're doubling him. Knowing Pagano, they probably were, or maybe, using bracket coverage on him or what have you to take him away. And maybe that's what's going on. Maybe he and Phillip Rivers haven't gotten on the same page yet. One thing I definitely do know is that whereas Andrew Luck would look for T.Y. first, almost exclusively, and would stand back in that pocket longer, waiting for T.Y. to break open or for longer plays to develop, Phillip Rivers getting the fucking ball out of his hands. He can't run, you know what I mean? Phillip gets the fucking ball out of there quick, so he's not going to hold it as long in order to let long developing plays, get open up for T.Y. And that could be some of it too, but it just doesn't seem like, the great wide receivers, no matter what's going on, they get theirs. They're able to get theirs. And it just looks to me like T.Y. just can't really get open as much anymore, and particularly getting behind people deep. So I hope I'm wrong. Again, maybe I'll go look at some game film over the last few games to see. But, man, just from watching over 4 weeks, even taking away the drops, it's starting to look like T.Y. is in decline, and that is without a doubt fucking ugly. But, again, it's a big win. And a win that put us at 3-1. So I am not fucking mad. I am glad about that win. So let's get on to the section where we really answer this question, or try to answer the question. And again, this is not the normal shit that you hear. I'm talking about answering the question bullshit free. Is the Colts defense elite? Well, we're 4 games in now, and here's the deal. The Colts are number 2 technically in defense in the league, but because the Steelers are technically number 1 at having only given up 870 yards, the Colts, though, have given up 945 yards through 4 games. Pittsburgh's only played 3 games. So, I mean, yards per game, Indianapolis 236 yards per game is all they're giving up. They're number 1 in total defense, if you ask me. They're number, in meaning the amount of yards they give up. But the most important defensive statistic is points, and they're number 1 there as well, only giving up 14 points per game through 4. They are only giving up an average of 77 yards per game rushing. So they're like 3rd, I believe, in the league against the rush. Against the pass, They're number one, only giving up 159 yards passing per game. Now, look, you can say, well, it's only 4 games. Well, we're a quarter of the way through the season. And you can say, well, they've been playing trash teams. Well, I mean, you could say that based on record, but if you actually look, I mean, Minnesota put up fucking yards and points against everybody but the Colts. The Jets have put up big yardage and points, just not against the Colts. Chicago has put up points, just not against the Colts. You with me? So, yeah, they haven't played Kansas City or Green Bay or Baltimore, or one of the teams or Cleveland yet, even though that's next week. They haven't played any of those teams with explosive offenses yet. But still, you can't really discount what they've done. I mean, it's not like they've just been pretty damn good against trash teams or trash offenses. They've been exceptional against offenses that have looked pretty good against everybody except them. So, at this point, they are elite, I believe. At this point, it's not just I don't think it's just they're getting lucky for a game or two. At this point, they're one of the elite defenses in the league. Now, that being said, we're going to definitely find out for sure where they are next week, because they got to go down on the road and play Cleveland, who has an explosive offense with some explosive weapons. And they went off and dropped fucking 49 points on Dallas yesterday. So this will be one to watch. This will be a great yardstick, measuring stick game for the Colts defense. If they're able to really shut down Cleveland, then we're dealing with a monster for sure. If they can just rein Cleveland in, you know what I mean, that bodes well, and that would definitely reinforce what we think is real at this point. And if they can whatever happens, I'd love to see them just get a win and go to 4-1. But either way, if you go and you look, and you can go to Pro Football Focus. I was listening to the guy, the guy in charge of analyzing stats for Pro Football Focus today on the radio, and he said, look, this shit is real. When you look at the Colts defense, particularly looking at individual players, like Xavier Rhodes has incredible grades, like the 3rd best grade at his position in the league on Pro Football Focus. DeForest Buckner, they were raving about. They have him rated as the 3rd best defender in the league, period, regardless of position. The linebackers, they started playing outstanding. The defensive line is playing outstanding, individually by player. Justin Houston is jumping off the page. They had the Maniac, Darius Leonard, rated as the 3rd best linebacker in the league so far. Julian Blackman is looking good. They're fucking balling out. No doubt about it. And, anybody that's, fucking wringing their hands, trying to poke holes in it or what have you must be out of your fucking mind. As long as we've been waiting for a shutdown defense in Indianapolis, I ain't looking to fucking give horse in the mouth. I'm not, worrying myself to death over whether this is real or not. At this point, they are showing themselves to be elite on the field. They're leading the league in 3 or 4 top defensive categories. They're number one. I'm just going to sit back and fucking enjoy this shit. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do against Cleveland next week. I'm hoping that Bobby Okereke, who hurt his thumb, I'm hoping he'll be able to play. I'm hoping that the Maniac, Darius Leonard, will be able to play. I don't know if TJ Carey will be back or not. Hopefully so. They already said Rocky Sin should be good to go. Man, I'm waiting. I'm wondering what's up with Kamiko Toure. Kamiko Toure. I'm just dying to see him on that other side of Justin Houston. Man, with DeForest Buckner in the middle, I'm just fucking dying to see him get out there. So Kamiko Toure, bro, if you're listening, get your ass back out there, man. I'm really looking forward to watching this. This has been fun as fuck so far. The first 4 games, if you just set aside that game of which we will not name that first week. Other than that, man, it's been fun as fuck to watch the offense or the defense. The offense, I really would love to see them get going, but we got to be honest. Without, missing Paris Campbell and now Michael Pittman for who knows how long, we really need to lean on these tight ends. I'm hoping, Trey Burton's back, so hopefully with another week, he'll be able to step in and give us some big plays, and then Mo Alley Cox as well. Hopefully they can start using Jack Doyle more. We may have to lean on the tight ends quite a bit and the backs out of the backfield, because the wide receivers, the wide receiver position is just, we're undermanned there. And I don't just mean because they're short bodies. I mean in terms of talent. You feel me? So I really want to see the offense get untracked in the game, and specifically because there's nothing you can do about the guys that you're missing. But man, I want to see this fucking running game get untracked and get and bust off a great running date. This weekend against Cleveland could be the perfect time to do it. I'd love to see it happen. Whatever the case, I know I'm going to be front and center because that should be a good fucking game. I am dying to see. It should be a heavyweight fight, watching the Colts defense against the explosive Cleveland Browns offense. One thing I can tell you, our defense is going to have to play and play well, because at this particular point, the Colts offense is not well suited for shootouts. I think that could be ugly if we ever get into a point where it's a shootout and we need 35, 40 points to win. Either fucking way, this shit is fun to watch. We're 3-1 after the first quarter of the season, and you can't ask for any more than that except to be 4-0, which we should be. If we hadn't fucked around and lost to now 1-3 Jacksonville, the only win they have. But, we were flat that game. We weren't ready clearly to play. We made some critical mistakes and blew that game. So be it. Either way, you come out of the first quarter of the season 3-1, nothing but happiness. Super excited. Let's move on to the second quarter of the season, which starts Sunday, and we will definitely know. I always say after 6 games, you kind of know who you are. So we'll know in the next 2 games, and who the Colts really are, and specifically after the next 4. We'll know pretty much about where we're sitting for the season and where we're headed. I hope it's as positive as it looks like to me so far. I think for sure the Colts are a playoff team, but even more than that, I'm thinking if some shit falls our way and we can get the offense untracked, and especially the running game, we can make some fucking noise in the playoffs. That's what it's about, making noise in the playoffs so that you can have the opportunity to play for a Super Bowl championship. Anything else is fucking uncivilized, and I'm not interested in it. You feel me? So, but I also am not interested in making the playoffs, a token appearance in the playoffs and getting run out of there in the first game. So at least let's go, win a game or 2. At any rate, I appreciate you being here. Make sure you like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so that you can make sure when you subscribe, you hit that bell so you get notifications for all the new videos. That way, every time I've got a podcast coming out or a little special report, sometimes between the podcast, the normal weekly podcast, you can get your bullshit free fix. You feel me? So, as always, I appreciate you being here. Let's fucking enjoy this shit. Cheer on our team. Let's go get a fucking win on Sunday against the Browns. And as always, Colts, if you're listening, you know what I'm all about. Let's go get another fucking Lombardi, baby. Peace.